Goodbye.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're happy to have on the other side of our microphone here with us David Helmuth from Helmuth and Johnson. We've been talking about an interesting case with a homeowners association where individual homeowners have been suing the board of directors. And Dave, I kind of want to go off a little bit off case, talk about something a little bit broader here. And I don't think I made myself probably really clear at the end of the last segment here. But the question that I have is, I just wonder how much responsibility can just be placed on the shoulders of board of directors when a homeowner says, well, the board failed here. They didn't get enough insurance coverage, or they didn't pay enough for this kind of service. They didn't take care of things for us. And part of that, to me, seems disingenuous sometimes, because homeowners can tie the hands of board members by not allowing them to have the budget needed to take care of things the way it should be. What do you think?
Well, I think, I'm not sure if I entirely agree. I agree with some of that premise, but I believe, the board of directors would have a responsibility to make sure that they were acting in the right manner and acting in the best interest of the association. So when it comes to directors and officers' liability coverage, or coverage for employee theft, or those types of coverages, in the particular case that we were talking about, they said there was an $800,000 embezzlement from the community association. If you've got a budget that large and you have that amount of savings or reserves that are available to be put at risk, I think you should have good insurance coverage and make sure that the board of directors goes through the exercise of, determining what coverages should be appropriate with the guidance of a professional.
Well, no doubt. I certainly agree with that, but there's a part of me that just wonders sometimes, how much is enough? For example, I know a lot of board members who will have review insurance coverage for the next year, and they take a look at there's umbrella coverage, additional umbrella coverage for $1 million or $2 million. Is that enough? It could be, but if there's a claim that's larger than that, then there's exposure. I've got one association that we deal with at New Concepts. The board there believes that nothing less than a $25 million umbrella is needed to have proper coverage. And so, to me, I guess what's enough insurance? You don't know until you use it, I guess,
Yeah, that's interesting, because you really need a good professional to look at your insurance and determine what is the right amount of coverage. Is $25 million too much? And then the other important factor with the insurance is, you were talking about an umbrella liability, a liability umbrella insurance. Well, that might exclude and not cover an embezzlement claim, and or a directors and officers liability claim. So you really need to also look at what type of coverage are you getting, and what does that insurance cover. And interestingly, I've handled a large number of embezzlement cases over the years, and some are for community associations, some are for private businesses, private corporations, and even other types of nonprofit corporations. And for some reason, these have fallen onto my desk. And in looking at them, one of the first things we want to do is we want to file an insurance claim, because we want to make sure that we don't have to go. I mean, we can certainly prove the embezzlement occurred, that money was taken wrongfully by a person who had access, and then that caused damage to the organization due to a loss of funds. We can prove all of that, but we really don't want to have to go through a lawsuit after someone who may have embezzled the money, and a lot of times you'll find out that these people who engage in those criminal and wrongful activities tend to spend the money and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't embezzle it to put it in their retirement fund, did they?
No, it's very,
and then
very
that almost
seldom.
never happens.
Yeah, very seldom is their money sitting around for collection. However, I've had a couple cases where we were able to collect the money back through settlement with the embezzler.
Yeah.
And, in one particular case, the embezzler had, significant personal assets that were used to pay back the claim that organization had.
I thought maybe he still had the money because he just didn't get to the casino fast enough.
Well, you say casino, and you're right on. Usually,
so many times.
A lot of times, the person who's an embezzler has a gambling problem or an alcohol problem or some other type of malady that is causing them to act in the manner that they're acting.
And they think this one more time, they could probably hit it big and pay everybody back.
Yeah, I think the rationalization is they think they're going to pay it back.
So the bottom line with this case, when people listening about a case like this, if someone is thinking about serving on a board or is serving on a board, by and large, they should not fear being sued or unprotected. Sometimes I hear that quite a bit from people. I don't want to serve because, it could just ruin me. People don't have to worry about that generally.
I would say that it's very rare for board members to be sued individually.
Yeah.
And there are strategies that you need to I don't even really shouldn't say strategies, but there are guidelines as a board member that you should follow, and you always need to act in the best interest of the organization and put the interests of the organization first. And then if you do that and you're on a nonprofit board, at least under Minnesota law, you have a lot of protection.
Yeah.
Because you're not being paid, and all you have to do is act in the best interest of the association.
Yeah.
And, even though the Court of Appeals in Illinois has reversed this decision, that just means that this case is going to go back to trial, and they're still going to have to prove that this board of directors breached their fiduciary duty to the association by not detecting this embezzlement and that type of thing. So that case isn't over, but I would say to anybody who's considering serving on a nonprofit board of directors that there's a lot of rewards to it, and the risk is very small.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And a point you raised that I think is important is that this is usually a state issue or monitored or regulated by state law, so it could vary from state to state.
Yeah, and Minnesota is very protective of nonprofit board members.
Yeah.
So, if someone's out there who's listening and they're considering getting on their community association board, I would say that the risks are very small or very slight. And there are protections out there. One of them we talked about is insurance. There's the Volunteer Protection Act, the federal law. There's Minnesota statutes, and there's the business judgment rule. And all of those things and concepts will protect a board member who's acting in good faith in the best interests of their association.
Yeah.
Well,
Excellent.
David, thanks so much for being part of the show today. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for calling on me, and Gene and Tony. It's just a pleasure to participate in this forum with you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
David.
you. That was David Helmuth with the law firm of Helmuth and Johnson.
I think this story illustrates how important it is to get expert advice. And we tell boards that all the time. I've run across boards who don't want to spend any money on legal fees, on attorney's fees. They just don't value that. And just time and time again, it's needed, if for no other reason than to say we did everything possible to make the right decision here. We got expert advice. We, so that you can show that you were upholding your fiduciary responsibility and you were acting in the best interest of the association.
And with that in mind, that kind of just segues into our next segment here after this break that we're going to take here. We're going to talk about what is called the Board of Directors Commandments. And these are just some guidelines and principles that will help you in serving well the people in a homeowners association, and also you in being able to act with integrity and consistency. We will cover the Directors Commandments after these messages.